justly now, love mercy now, grow humbly now. Do justly now, love mercy now, grow humbly now.
Good morning.
Morning, Sally.
Welcome to your neighborhood Unitarian Universalist congregation. My name is Rev Sally Fritsche. I am delighted to serve as minister to this congregation here on the treaty land of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. It is wonderful to be here with all of you this morning. For those in person, please remember to be aware of the various needs and boundaries of one another while we're gathered together, honoring our mask-required seating area, keeping aisles clear from mobility devices, and only taking photos with permission. We're a community of many ages and abilities, which means we embrace whatever little noises or distractions might come along with being together. We are committed to a love that makes space for all. If you have a phone or other device that can be silenced, I invite you to do that now, unless you'll need it in order to access and participate in the service. And know that our services usually go about 90 minutes, so if there's anything you need to make yourself comfortable during that time, feel free to move, stretch, fidget, get a glass of water. You can spend time in the wiggle room where there's a comfy couch and some toys, and a cute baby this morning. Or at the activity table where there's art supplies and a kinetic sandbox and fidgets to play with. Today is International Women's Day. This holiday, celebrated in dozens of countries worldwide, was first created by the International Socialist Women's Conference more than 100 years ago. It's a day meant to commemorate the achievements of women, a category that very much includes trans and gender nonconforming women, and further the goals of gender equality, reproductive rights, and international worker solidarity. Today's service will be a chance to lift up a little-known chapter of our own UU history, the Iowa Sisterhood, a group of powerful women preachers who shaped what our tradition would eventually become today. If you're new here and would like us to keep in touch, please fill out a newcomer card, which you'll find in the backs of the seats in front of you, with your information, and pass that in the basket when it goes around later in the service. Know that whoever you are, wherever you are in your relationship to religion, to spirituality, and to this place, we're glad that you are here today. Let's take a moment to remember we're here together and turn to greet those around us with a good morning, a smile, a bow, or a handshake. We will come back together with Susanne singing, and when you hear the music, it means it's time to find your seat again and join in singing together.
Whomever you love, we welcome you.
Thank you. Once again, welcome, and I am joined here today as our service weaver, longtime neighborhood member, Moira MacDonald.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Moira.
Welcome. Happy International Women's Day.
You too.
Can't say it enough. Yes, I will be your service weaver this morning, and I will also be singing with our International Women's Day Trio with our music director, Susanne Mazars, and with my sibling spirit choir member, Jem. We have lots of wonderful music planned for you. But at this time, I would like to acknowledge with respect and gratitude that we are here today on the treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, and also the traditional land and territory of the Wendat and Haudenosaunee peoples. We are neighbors with many diverse Indigenous peoples living here in Toronto, including Tracy May Chambers, whose work is featured above me, around me, in what we call our neutral slide for this morning's service. Tracy May Chambers is a member of the Métis Nation of Ontario, and she writes that this work, hashtag Hope and Healing Canada, it actually does have a hashtag, is an invitation to venture along pathways of understanding between Indigenous and settler communities. NUUC member Peter Marmarick, right over there, took this photograph of Chambers' work outside the Aga Khan Museum in North York, and Tracy May Chambers knows that we are using it today. She says that her use of red in the knit and crochet work embodies life and vitality, as well as the struggles and injustices faced by Indigenous peoples. Red also symbolizes courage and love, guiding us all toward healing and mutual understanding as we seek to weave a new relationship story. So may it be so. And right now, I invite you to join me in casting a circle in this space and time for our service. Please join me in reading our invocation. Let us cast a circle of a sacred space here. Let us cast a circle of a cherished space here, a space of safety, a place of forgiveness, a place of love. If we want the world to change, we must craft in our space and in ourselves the seeds that grow a different kind of life, a life of graciousness, of creative intelligence, a place of life and spirit for ourselves and our families. And this morning, we will have the chalice lit by Nancy Vanderplatz from our Social and Environmental Action Committee. To light the chalice, Nancy will take the flame from the children's chalice as a reminder that children are a vital part of our community, that they are our future, and that we at Neighborhood have a collective responsibility to hear and support them in their own spiritual journeys. And I invite Gemma to join myself and Suzanne for our century music.
Our next song, Bread and Roses, is based on a political slogan used in the women's suffrage and labor movement. American suffragist Helen Todd included the line, "Bread for all and roses too," which inspired James Oppenheim to write a poem titled Bread and Roses. This poem has been set to music by a few different composers. The version we will sing was written by Mimi Farina in the 1970s. The bread in Bread and Roses is said to represent basic human needs, while the roses represent dignity, appreciation, and human rights. Todd herself wrote that bread includes home, shelter, and security, and the roses of life include music, education, nature, and books. As you listen to the song, consider how far human rights have come in Canada, as well as what might be left to achieve.
As we marching, unnumbered women dead, go crying through our singing, their ancient call for bread. Sport and love and beauty, their trudging spirits new. Yes, it is bread we fight for, but we fight for roses too. As we go marching, marching, we're standing proud and tall. The rising of the women means the rising of us all. No more the drudge and idler tend that toil where one reposes, but a sharing of life's glories. Bread and roses, bread and roses, bread and roses.
I'm just going to adjust this because it's a little bumpy over here. It's a bit wobbly, isn't it? Well, we'll live with that. So, our beloved water ceremony. Our UU principles, which once referenced mankind and the dignity of man. Women in numbers on our boards and among our ministers. These days, we take these as givens in our UU communities, just as we take women's right to vote, which did not exist when the phrase bread and roses was popularized in the women's suffrage and labor movements of the 1910s. When myself and several other women in our congregation, including the late Reverend Pat Trudeau and Nancy Vanderplatz and Valerie, Moisey is here, Laura is not, but anyway, there were several of us. We took up the UU theology program called Cakes for the Queen of Heaven in 2022. We learned how these UU givens of today were actually birthed out of the work of UU women in the not-so-distant past. That happened first with the 1977 Women in Religion Resolution at General Assembly, which is the annual meeting of the Unitarian Universalist Association. And then that resolution led to a 1980 Women in Religion Conference. And so it was at that conference where the water ceremony was first introduced, designed by Carolyn McDade, she of our beloved Spirit of Life song, and Lucille Shook Longview. And women attendees started agitating for changes in language and framing of what we as UUs are all about. So if you think that you couldn't imagine not having the water service, for example, which we do every September here at Neighborhood, cast your mind to thoughts of what we might miss out on when we don't have everybody at the table, and what we might be missing out on when people are excluded, even today, right now. Today on International Women's Day, our service continues in the theme of one of those reformed UU principles. That is principle number 2, covenant to affirm and uphold justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Rev Sally, as she said, she's going to share another slice of UU history, when a group of Unitarian women ministers shut out a full-time ministry, still found a way to serve, and they served in their own way, and it turned out it might be a way that other people liked too. Not for those ministers was this passage that forms part of UUism's Christian heritage from 1 Corinthians in the New Testament, which read, brace yourselves, let your women keep silence in the churches, for it is not permitted unto them to speak, but they are commanded to be under obedience, as also saith the law. And if they will learn anything, let them ask their husbands at home, for it is a shame for women to speak in the church. Right? So as you use, okay, yes, we take that as a given. Those ideas are foolish. But we can also remember that that was not always so, and that it was the work of women and the support of honorable, forward-thinking men that led to changes benefiting us all.
Thank you so much, Moira. I will say I love that passage from Corinthians because it was a letter Paul wrote to an early Christian community instructing them on what he thought they should do. And what it tells me is what Paul thought. And it also tells me that there were women speaking in that church and causing the types of problems that I hope we still cause today. This is the time in our service when we tell a story or do an activity that's meant to be engaging for a wider variety of ages and learning styles, not just those who like to hear a written message spoken into a microphone. Today, our Time for All Ages is actually a song for all ages. And in a minute, I will invite anyone who wants to circle up at the front here and learn some actions, maybe face-to-face, especially if you're a smaller person who can't see over people's heads and want to circle up with our singers. But International Women's Day has always involved marches and demonstrations, and shared music and chants are a big part of that. So Susanne and our other trio members are going to teach us a song that has some shared movements that go with it. And this song comes to us by way of a Quaker woman named Elizabeth Cave, who first heard it sung at the Greenham Common Women's Peace Camp. So first, let me show you a picture of some of the International Women's Day marches and demonstrations, including some familiar faces from yesterday's march. You might recognize some of those in that one color photo. But at the Greenham Common Women's Peace Camp, a long time ago in the faraway place of England, the long ago time of 1981, there were American nuclear missiles being stored at a Royal Air Force base, and a small group of activists called Women for Life on Earth chained themselves to the gate of that base in protest of those missiles. And when their protest wasn't getting the results they hoped for, they organized, they called for reinforcements, and they formed an encampment permanently outside the fence of that base, demanding the removal of the nuclear missiles and disrupting operations by blocking roads and cutting fences. Hundreds of women joined them, and the encampment lasted for years. And 10 years after it was formed, the last missile was removed from the base. And the peace camp actually stuck around after that and didn't dissolve into the year 2000, when the protesters won the right to build a memorial at the site, which is still visited by women and peace activists today. So this song, which is in our UU hymnal, and which you may recognize already, comes to us from that peace camp and the women who persevered there. And now I'll invite anyone, any young person especially, parent or shorter person who wants to see, to come forward and circle up with Susanne and learn some of these movements that go along with this song.
Thanks, friends. Hi. So I'm going to start just by teaching the actions. The first line is building bridges between our divisions. To do that, we'll take our right hand, like fingers open, to start that side of the bridge. Between our divisions, our other hand, left hand comes up to make a bridge. Building bridges between our divisions. I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? I reach out to you, right arm goes out. Will you reach out to me? Left arm goes out. And then with all of our voices and all of our visions, with all of our voices, we're going to take our voice and send it out. And then our visions, we're going to take from our mind, our imagination, and ideas and send them out. Friends, we could make such sweet harmony. I'm going to sweep up all my friends and bring them in. And then I'm going to take my left hand, sweep in, and make sweet harmony, hugging. I don't have anyone to hug, so I'm hugging myself. Okay, so now the tune that goes with this. So we have building bridges between our divisions. Let's try that all together. Building bridges between our divisions. Second phrase is, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions. With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Let's try the whole thing all together. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Okay, I think we've got it. I invite you at this point all to rise if you are able and willing and want to. And we're going to sing it as a round. How fun. Make harmony with each other right now. So, Moira, could you maybe the first 3 chairs of that area and the people under the balcony will be your group. And then Jem will have the first 2 chairs of this and 3 chairs or something of this area. And I will take the 2 chairs and all of the folks here under the balcony. Okay? So what we're going to do, we're going to sing it one more time all together at the same time. And then we're going to start the round. Moira will start, then Jen, then me. We'll sing it 2 more times. And when we arrive at Friends, we could make such sweet harmony. We will make sweet harmony together. Okay. Let's do it. Building bridges between our divisions. I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Building bridges between our divisions. I building bridges, you reach out to visions. I building bridges between our divisions. I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we can make such sweet harmony. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we can make such sweet harmony. Friends, we can make such sweet harmony. Friends, we can make such sweet harmony. Thank you for the harmony, friends.
Kids and volunteers are invited to follow Kim into the Rainbow Room where you will have fun activities and time together. Follow the lantern.
Yeah.
All right, and we'll sing you on your way. Thank you. It was a delight to see everyone participating in that one. So the first woman minister that I remember seeing in the pulpit of a UU congregation was Reverend Molly Hausch Gordon in 2012, the newly called minister of my home congregation in mid-Missouri, and it blew my mind. The UU church I grew up in had the same minister since before I was born to after I graduated high school. Reverend Bill Haney, a thoughtful and kind-hearted man with a fringe of white beard and an academic sensibility. And when he retired, it had never really occurred to me that a woman could be the one to replace him. I suppose I knew in some abstract sense that women could, but without immediate examples, my brain had gone ahead and filled the category minister with entirely older male faces. If Reverend Molly, who was in her mid-20s, fresh out of seminary, bright red hair, and a powerful voice, had not shown up in my congregation, I don't know that I ever would have thought to follow this path myself, or to aspire to this type of spiritual authority. In Unitarian Universalism today, slightly more women are ordained than men, and yet the default authoritative religious voice remains stubbornly masculine. And I'm talking about the gut-level, pre-verbal image of a leader that sits in our heads, whether we like it or not. You know, what does the voice of God sound like? You know, does it sound like this? Who should we picture when we think of the pastor, the shepherd, the priest, the elder, the minister? UUs come from many different religious backgrounds, including no religion at all, which will shape how each of our imaginations fill the blank of spiritual leader. We don't all have the same answer, that is certain. But we must all reckon with the society we live in, as well as the fact of our tradition's roots. We grew out of Protestant Christianity, including scriptures and practices like the one that Moira shared earlier, instructing women to keep silent in church. Even when we know better, there can still be something newfangled feeling about women ministers. I still regularly encounter a note of surprise when I tell someone who I am or what I do. When I show up in a congregant's hospital room and tell the nurse I'm their minister, I get a double take. A minister? What? And when we tell our stories here in sacred space and out in our lives, stories of great leaders and teachers, the words and deeds of our spiritual role models, stories of our forefathers, who populates those roles? On a day like today, when women's contributions and efforts are being recognized worldwide, it's worthwhile to remember that in every story, in every time, in every place, wars, scientific breakthroughs, spiritual awakenings, revolutions, we can ask, where were the women? And the answers we get back will be fascinating and rich and necessary. So where were the women in the story of UU ministry? Today, in celebration of International Women's Day, I am going to tell you one of my favorite chapters of our faith's history, a reminder that our tradition has always contained space for unexpected sources of inspiration and leadership. A reminder that we can look to the past to help us envision a future. There was a time when a group of women grabbed hold of Unitarian ministry and made it their own. And I'm not talking about the 2000s or the 1970s. I'm talking about the 1880s. After the American Civil War, in the wilds of the upper Midwest, a group of women rose up and began to build and fill pulpits that their East Coast brethren never dreamed of. The prairie states at that time were mostly populated by farming families of Lutherans and Baptists, with most of the native peoples having been driven north and west, and almost no major industrial development moving in from the east. These were backwoods and windswept rural communities. And far away on the east and west coast, the liberal, truth-seeking faith movements of Unitarianism and Universalism were flourishing, particularly in Boston. But very few Unitarian or Universalist ministers were attracted to the hard life and small paychecks of ministry in the Midwest. And a little girl born in Hamilton, Illinois in 1852, named Eleanor Gordon, was going to be the one to change that. Eleanor was born into a family with strong Unitarian leanings. At home, she read Ralph Waldo Emerson and Theodore Parker, and at age 10, she and her friend Mary Safford walked out of their Presbyterian Sunday school, having decided there was nothing being taught there that they cared to learn. As she wrote later in life, quote, "I had 2 hands, a brain of my own. No one should dictate as to my ways and means." Eleanor and her friend Mary both grew into strong-willed intellectuals, prolific readers and supporters of the more radical branches of liberal religion. Eleanor became a teacher, which is one of the few careers open to women, and she began to feel a growing call toward something else. She wrote, "There had been growing in my own mind a great discontent. While I loved to teach, I felt the need of a lesson greater than found in schools or in textbooks." She wrote that she wanted to win a place in the larger school, the church. For many, a woman going into ministry was unimaginable, absurd, impossible. But Eleanor would not be deterred, and her obvious skills and dedication gradually won support from more free-thinking Midwestern Unitarian communities that were taking root far from the hierarchy and social strictures of the East Coast. And finally, in 1889, the Unitarian congregation of Sioux City, Iowa, officially ordained Eleanor Gordon as their minister. She was 37 years old. She and Mary Safford wasted no time in building radical and loving church communities across the Midwest. They preached fiery sermons about the value of critiquing the Bible. They performed weddings, and they refused to include the word obey in any vows. They taught Darwin and Emerson in their Sunday schools. Perhaps most radically, they sought out and raised up new female talent. They were ordaining other women and eventually gathered a loose network of about 24 women ministers, all founding and leading churches of their own, spreading the Unitarian message across the Great Plains. And they called themselves the Iowa Sisterhood. Now, one of the very first times I ever preached in front of a congregation, it was in Iowa at an unfamiliar church, and I met with the minister beforehand to talk about what to expect. I was not even a seminarian yet. I was brand new to the path of ministry. And before any discussion of what I'd be preaching on, this minister asked what I planned to wear. And before I could answer, he went on to describe the many women he had seen preach in too tight dresses, or too high heels, and too much makeup, too low necklines, wearing open-toed shoes, God forbid, or acrylic fingernails. It's important to look dignified, he said, authoritative. And what he didn't say hung very loudly in the air between us. And sitting in his office, I remember feeling suddenly very aware of my body, of my t-shirt, my skinny jeans, the chunky earrings I'd chosen to wear. Were they too much? Was I undignified? And this Unitarian Universalist minister sits me down, and before addressing my thoughts or spirituality or plans for the future, he asks how I will look and details all the ways he thinks women specifically can look somehow just wrong up in the pulpit. And I know his intentions were good. He thought he was helping me. This thoughtful, authoritative UU minister, I know he was trying to help by giving me advice he assumed I needed to hear. As if I hadn't already been given that advice in 1,000 different ways throughout my life. When the Iowa Sisterhood was first forming, their efforts were largely considered undignified, an embarrassment to the Unitarian movement. In Boston, where the denomination was centered, these Midwestern ministries were dismissed as women's work, a distraction from the vital intellectual endeavors of theological debate and biblical interpretation. One notable difference between those prairie churches and the churches in New England was the physical space. So in East Coast towns, pews are straight-backed, or they're like these closed private pew boxes. Sanctuaries are often drafty, undecorated. Church was a place where you come to hear a sermon and little else. It was a place of the mind and of airy spiritual concerns, and bodily comfort did not enter into it at all. The ministers of the Iowa Sisterhood began to build spaces that were deliberately designed to be welcoming, warm, home-like, a place where a community might enjoy spending time, sharing meals, getting to know one another. This led to these ministers being dismissed as glorified homemakers, sad spinsters caring for a church because they didn't have their own families to care for. It degrades the entire idea of clergy as being somehow untouched by the mundane and worldly concerns of community life. Eleanor wrote, "A woman must rid herself of the notion that she is a peculiar creature. She must believe herself a human mind with only the limitations of a human mind, a part of the universal mind, with all possibilities of growth and development." And with that connection to the universal mind, these Iowa sisters were building communities that appealed to all people. It was needed. A warm, welcoming, spiritual home was deeply needed. And those congregations proved themselves over and over. They grew. They launched new communities and grew again. And then as the 20th century dawned, these thriving and growing congregations began to attract the attention of some of those Harvard-educated seminarians on the East Coast. The Plains states were no longer quite as harsh and inhospitable as they once were, and the president of the American Unitarian Association, Samuel Eliot, declared that what the movement needed was more resolute men, not more women. And one by one, the members of the Iowa Sisterhood were pushed out of the congregations they built. By 1910, nearly all the Unitarian congregations of the American Midwest were led by men. Most of those women ministers couldn't find other pulpits willing to have them and turned to other work as educators, activists. Eleanor Gordon and Mary Safford founded one more church in Orlando, Florida, which still exists, before they retired. And with that, the Iowa Sisterhood dissolved and was largely forgotten. The number of ordained Unitarian women fell to nearly zero in the 20th century, and our movement's vision of who could lead us shrank back down to a narrow version of that traditional, authoritative male ministry. And it wasn't until the 1970s and 80s, with the Women in Religion movement that Moira mentioned, that feminist historians and scholars recovered and lifted up the story of these radical Midwestern women, asking the simple question, where were the women during this time? When UU feminists in the 80s began the project of pushing for better inclusion and gender equality in our faith, including inventing new rituals like the water communion, changing the language in our hymnals and our principles, at that time only 6% of ministers being ordained were women, and today that number is 56%. And that first woman minister I saw in a pulpit back in 2012, Reverend Molly Hausch-Gordon, she is still serving that Midwestern congregation, and she has a daughter now named Eleanor Gordon, after our Iowa sister from long ago. What was old is made new again, and it turns out that this newfangled trend of women leading in our movement actually has deep roots in our history. The story of the Iowa Sisterhood reminds us to listen for the voices that are on the fringe of our tradition, not just in history, but today. Who are the UUs today who dream of preaching to the backwoods and the margins? The ones who shake up what we imagine we need about weddings, about Sunday schools, about how we build and shape our sacred spaces. Are we still pushing them out of our pulpits? How many other aspiring ministers are being sat down for conversations like the one I had when I first started preaching? Conversations about what they need to wear, how they need to act, what they need to look like and sound like if they want to be taken seriously. What are we really saying when we describe someone as undignified, unprofessional, or shrill? And it might take a little discomfort, but I truly believe it's better to have every Sunday of the year preached by people in too tight dresses and undignified earrings than to go that same year only getting to hear one type of voice from the pulpit. And truly, gender is only one part of this, right? The leaders of tomorrow will not look like the leaders of yesterday or today. They will be surprising, unexpected. They will be genderqueer, Black, Indigenous, disabled, loudly and publicly different from the mold. Different in ways we might not be able to predict and prepare for. But when our imaginations catch up with reality, when our image of what a leader looks like expands beyond that serious-faced, white-haired, dark-robed man who exists kind of in the ether when we think about leadership, then we'll be moving into a future that's wide open and is hopeful beyond our foremothers' wildest dreams. So may we keep that door open in ourselves and in our communities for those who come after us. May we lift up those who came before. May that circle keep on turning. May it bring us to the future that we envision together. Blessed be, may it be so, and amen.
Thanks very much for that message, Sally. I am going to be joined in a moment by my singing trio friends, Jem and Susanne. We are going to sing a song called Bella Ciao, which some of you may recognize that, or when you hear it, you will hear the refrain. It's pretty popular and familiar. It's been sung in many languages for many causes involving resistance to oppression, starting in the rice paddies of Italy, weeded by young women who were working in unjust conditions. Our singing of Bella Ciao this morning combines Italian and Spanish, including words borrowed from the song's use by pro-choice activists in Argentina in 2020. For me, that Argentinian connection brought to mind my old Spanish literature teacher, Professor Zed Nelly Martinez, who was also from Argentina. And we are going back to that long ago past of the 1980s. She made sure that along with learning about the golden age of Spanish literature, we got a dose of feminism and heard her stories of the mothers of the Plaza de Mayo, women whose young people had been disappeared and murdered by the military regime during Argentina's Dirty War from 1976 to 1983. I just learned that Bella Ciao has also been used during an annual march held every March 24th in Argentina, a day called the Day of Truth and Justice, to remember that time and to honor the dead.
Appena más, más, miles más, miles más, más, más. Hombro con hombro, unas con otras, nos vamos a liberar. Hombro con hombro, unas con otras, nos vamos a liberar.
I invite you to take just a deep breath or two. Let your body rest in whatever position feels meditative or prayerful to you. You might put your hands on your heart or open them on your knees. Together, let's take just a moment to hold the joys and sorrows, spoken and unspoken, in this community and far beyond this community's walls. Let our hearts be soft and open to the deep feeling that life demands of us. As we rest in gratitude, gratitude for spring holidays, daylight, having things to look forward to. Gratitude for the trailblazers, those who show us the way, those unwilling to be silent. Gratitude for loving parents and grandparents, role models of all kinds, and for the family we find later in life, who we love too much to be cool about it. We rest also in hope for health to those stuck at home, those fighting illness or seeking diagnosis, love for those in grief, that they may know they are not alone, strength to those bearing the pain of loss and difficult anniversaries, peace where there is conflict, justice where there are rights denied, healing wherever it's needed most, and when healing is not possible, deep rest. Take a moment and use this quiet to find your own words, to express your gratitude, your hope, ask for what you need, what the world needs, or just breathe in the light. May all prayers spoken and unspoken here today be answered in every way possible. May we feel the presence of one another and all the threads that hold us together, in the presence of a love greater than ourselves. I invite you to breathe one more time together, and we'll come back to this space with a song offered by our trio, Will Be Known by Our Love.
It's actually not going to be by our trio, although I'm sure they're going to sing along. It's going to song for everybody today. Last week, you had Alan Gosser here substituting for me on my day off, and I understand and hope that he taught it to you last week. So I invite you to rise in body or spirit. I'm just going to read my little blurb about the song. The title, Will Be Known by Our Love, is inspired by a quote by Tertullian around 200, when he described the identity of early Christians as evidenced by their behavior. See how they love one another. And Jesus is quoted in the Gospel of John as saying, "This is how everyone will know that you are my disciples, when you love each other." So in this month of honoring compassion in human relations, we'll sing "We'll Be Known by Our Love."
When the winds around you blow, take my hand. When the raging waters flow, I'll help you to land. And we'll go together into the great unknown, shelter for each other. Compassion is our home, and we'll be known by our love. We'll be known by our love. When you're fearful, when you're blue, don't despair. When the world gives up on you, I'll still be there. And we'll go together into the great unknown, shelter for each other. Compassion is our home, and we'll be known by our love. We'll be known by our love. We'll be known by our love. We'll be known by our love.
Nice harmonies again, everyone. Thank you.
Beautiful. You may be seated. It is pledge season here at Neighborhood, which means that, as you know, all our members and friends are being invited to fill out a pledge form, which looks like this, indicating a best guess of what financial support we can each provide toward the congregational budget in the coming year. Our budget is decided by us. It's funded by us. And so this is part of our dedication to the democratic process and being a congregational space where the congregation gets to decide what our year will look like, what we'll be able to do. For a few brief words about what pledging means to her, we have Allison Kabayama, who is one of Neighborhood's most longest-standing members.
Truth be told, that picture isn't very recent, but I have to get a new headshot. Almost 27 years ago, I came to my UU roots at a time when I had children of my own. Conveniently, a New Start congregation was meeting in the Beaches Arts Center very close to my home. A sandwich board on Queen Street caught my attention and prompted me to bring my family the very next Sunday. From the moment when we first arrived, my sons and I were embraced. My 10-year-old found there was another boy at the same age, and they clicked. My toddler was more than tolerated as we moved together, and he lightly babbled during the first part of service. LL classes were fantastic, and I learned. They were educational for me. I truly felt I was shown how to best love and fully engage with my hyperactive little son by the teachings and examples shown by Joan and Joanne. At coffee time, I met more loving and lively people. In addition to coffee and tea, there were abundant and varied snacks at no charge. A feast compared to a dry biscuit for a quarter elsewhere. I jumped in to lend a hand at cleanup, and I fit in easily. Welcomed into the Keeners, who came early and learned the songs that were going to be sung that day, which I was familiar with because of my youth as Ottawa First UU child. I found my community here. and nourishment for my soul. Deep and moving messages, a place where we strive to learn safety, forgiveness, and love, and where I didn't have to wear armor to defend myself. Simply be and grow into my best self. I felt such relief that I cried every service and felt myself healing and the following calm and clarity. Here I found an outlet for my voice, both in singing and as a service weaver. Social action initiatives bolster my sense of being part of solutions towards social and environmental justice, of pride, and of becoming more hopeful. Incredible music combined with social action boosts my immune system. So I choose to financially support neighborhood because I know how special and important this place is. For me and everyone in my circle, for this community, and for those yet to walk through our doors. I give because I want neighborhood, these people, and our programs to continue to evolve, to last, and to be forces for good. I'm excited for our next chapter of maturity and stability, which is being fostered due to all our involvement, and a fabulous minister who's in it for the long haul. More of us are pledging, and the congregation is in a phase of renewal and growth. I am pleased by seeing all the new, eager, and sometimes unsure faces that walk through our doors each week, looking for something rare and special, and I'm glad that we are here to receive them and welcome in service and with love in the way that my family was embraced. When you are asked to pledge, please consider what this living entity might mean to you and to others, and see if you can imagine our lives without it. When possible, I've tried to contribute generously and with a joyful heart. It's a financial gift that both pays it forward and gives back exponentially.
Thank you, Allison. So following up on Allison's words about the value of pledging, we come to the time of our offering. And to be clear, pledging is the commitment that we make each year to what we hope that we will contribute. And the offering is the time when we actually do the contributing, so whether we pledged or not. We have a variety of ways of doing that, of contributing. Our greeters are in the house to pass back baskets in the sanctuary. You can also contribute via the displayed QR code on the screen or through bank transfers, which is the way that I do it. And of course, we thank you in advance for your generosity. I think, is the basket, yes, the basket's going around? Are there still people? There are still people who would like to put something in the basket. So while that's happening, I'll turn it over to Sally for Life of the Community, and Christina and Prakash, you can bring me the baskets when everything's collected.
All right, as the basket is passed, let me share a couple of brief things about what's going on in the life of our community. First of all, we have hopefully a more organized, easier way to share information with one another. So if you have an upcoming neighborhood group or event or gathering that you want announced, we have a single Google form where you can put all your information is, place, time, blurb, name of the event, photo of you want shared. And then that will enable us to have it all in one place. And that should also be in your newsletter. So if you don't get the QR code in time, don't fret. Also coming up, will you be a leader in Neighborhood's next chapter? The nominating committee is looking for members of the board of directors. If you think you could serve in that way, reach out at nominations@nuuc.ca. This afternoon, the Ukulele Club is meeting. This is open to all skill levels. There are a few spare ukuleles that you can jump on and use if you don't have your own. That starts at 2 p.m. this afternoon right here where I'm standing. This Thursday, there will be a workshop and discussion on tackling food insecurity in our community. That will be, again, right here in Rafos Hall, 7:30 p.m. And this Saturday, we are having our movement service for the month is Come Gather Round, a summer camp inspired movement service for all ages. So if you or someone in your family or immediate circle wants to play some fun games, do some fun dancing together, and sit around a campfire right here indoors for an afternoon, please show up. Service begins at 3 p.m. and the dance party ends at 6 p.m. All right, next Sunday, we'll have circle music in the afternoon. That's at 2 p.m. This is joyful improvised music making. All are welcome. Singing skill or experience not required. And coming up on the 20th, we have a games night. Those who attended the last games night know how fun it was. And if you weren't able to make it last time, please consider attending this time. It is a good time. Bring your own games. If you've got one you want to really rope people into playing, now's your chance. Next Sunday service, we're going to have a guest speaker, Nigel Barif. He's going to be speaking about the practical practice of our second principle, how to live in real life, matters of justice, equity, and compassion. And it'll be a spirit choir Sunday. And now we have a pledge update from Lillian, who's over there this week. Haha.
Just going to echo a thank you so much to Allison for those beautiful words. I don't think I can stress or be more eloquent in how important pledging is to this congregation. So I'll just echo again what Allison said and give you a quick update. We're wrapping up our pledge campaign on March 22nd, so we still have a couple of weeks left. If you haven't made your pledge, you're still thinking about it on the fence, you know where to find me after service, and I'll have pledge forms there. So I'll hope to see many of you there. And our book giveaway for this week. We have 4 wonderful UU books left. So our winner this week, drumroll please. Next slide is Marcy Hewson. I don't know if Marcy's here today, but we will get a book to her. Thank you guys so much.
All right, and as always, there's more than we can fit into Sundays, so check out the slides that play in the cappuccino room and sign up for our newsletter so that you're getting all the information about things going on in this community.
Okay, we're going to sing one last song to close the service today. We've been speaking about all these first female ministers, and we're going to sing a song written by the first female minister that Neighborhood ordained, which is Reverend Lynn Harrison. This was written in early 2025. She writes, as a healing response to the increasing hatred, oppression, and division arising in the United States and around the world. She said that she wrote it initially just for herself, to write for herself to sing, but soon realized it was really meant to be a congregational song, and we debuted it here in 2025 to give it its first test run. So we're going to sing it today. I invite you to rise and body your spirit, and I'm not sure everyone knows it, so I think I'm going to just take a minute to go over the melody. Hold fast to love, for it's not broken. Hold fast to love, for it's not broken. Hold fast to love, it will endure. Hold fast to love, it will endure. Hold fast to love, hold your heart open. Hold fast to love, hold your heart open. For all this hurt, love is the cure. For all this hurt, love is the cure. invite up International Women's Day Trio to join me in leading you all in singing this.
While you are standing, I will invite Nancy back up to extinguish our chalice. It's on
I invite you to reach out to those beside you if you'd like to, or reach to your own heart if you prefer not to touch hands this morning. And as we prepare to open the circle that we cast this morning and return scattered to our separate lives, may we remember that when our hands open, we are still holding fast to that love, holding fast to one another, and that our fire in our own hearts is leading the way forward, showing us the way, and helping to light a path for those who come after. May we go in peace. May we hold fast to one another. Blessed be. Amen.